everyone. I'm Deb Luttrell with Stitch in Heaven in Mineola, Texas, soon to be Quitman, Texas. And I'm here today with my good friend Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany is owner of a company. She's a designer for Needle in a Haystack. It's her company. And I invited Tiffany here today to talk to us about ombre fabrics. Oh my gosh, ombre fabrics I absolutely love. But it's so hard for me to figure out what to do with them and how to use them. And I think at the end of this program, we're going to have a better understanding of some ways to use ombre. First of all, what they are, and some beautiful projects that we're going to end up with. So to start with, Tiffany, why don't you just tell us what ombre fabrics are?
Well, ombre fabrics are when a color gradiates from dark to light or light to dark. So in one bolt of fabric, one chunk of fabric, you have many gradations of the color.
Like this fabric.
Like this fabric, yes.
In front of us. Okay, let's talk about this quilt that's behind me a little bit. You made this quilt from ombre fabric.
I did, yes. So this one is actually made from a roll of 20 different colors of ombre fabrics.
Okay.
So there were 2 strips of each color, each ombre shade in the roll. Okay, so one strip made 2 blocks, and by block I'm going to call this right here a block.
Okay.
So when you look at this, you probably think, oh, she used a square. She can't get a square out of a strip, but this is 2 rectangles.
Okay.
2 rectangles,
I see that.
and some squares, and some half square triangles. But if you see, I use the darkest part of the ombre fabric for these rectangles, the lightest part for these squares, and the medium for the half square triangles.
And what's the name of this project?
This is Tessala.
Tessala. Okay. And how did you come up with that name?
Well, I came up with the name.
You visited with the guy who makes the cars, right?
I didn't.
Oh,
but
darn.
it's a good story, thanks.
Yeah, you could have done that.
I could have gone there.
Tessala.
Tessala. I had a thing for a while and still do with tessellating shapes. And although this isn't exactly a basic simple tessellating shape, it does have 2 different shapes that kind of tessellate back and forth. So I didn't use it in its organic and true form, but I did use the word tessala as a kind of derivative from a tessellating shape.
You can name it anything you want.
It's beautiful.
Right? I love it. I really, really love it.
Thank you.
So let's talk about a little how you made this project. We're going to talk about this and how you used your ombre.
Yes.
And how now ombres can be printed dark to light in the center, or they can be printed.
Right, so if it's dark to light at the center, this is the fold.
The fold.
Comes back to dark at the salvage again.
Okay, and there's some I've seen that have the light at the salvage and the dark in the center.
Yes, that is true as well.
Do you have a preference of which one you like best?
Either of those will work. What doesn't work as well for me are the fabrics that are printed so they are dark at one salvage and flow the color all the way to light at the other salvage.
Okay.
And they're gorgeous and they work for projects, but for this particular project and most of the ones that I do, I prefer the ombres that are dark at the salvage and light at the fold.
Yeah, and when you go into a quilt shop to find your ombre, what you're going to find is the bolt is like this. So in the cabinet, it's going to look like this on the bolt.
Absolutely.
So you can tell, from that it's an ombre. So, okay, tell us how you cut this out and some of the tips that you have for us on cutting it.
All right. So the first thing I did was cut a 2.5-inch strip, or in this case, started with 2.5-inch strips.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was like a strip set.
It was a strip set. Absolutely. So I have one strip here, and I want to move it over so you can see the side that I'm going to start cutting at. And the first thing I'm going to do is trim away the salvage. And here's my little trick for that. Use an extra tool.
I love that. I can't believe I've never thought about doing it that way. I always turn it around,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is easier, I think. More, it keeps your fabric nice and steady
Right.
If you can move around the table, then you don't have to move your fabric. But every time we move our fabric, it wants to shift and change for us.
It's fluid.
It is. Let's see. So we need to cut half square triangles. In this particular quilt, in the pattern, like I said, for the rectangles, I will tell you to start cutting your rectangles at this end.
Okay.
Then we're going to cut some half square triangles, and then the squares will be the lightest for the squares on it. So
Okay.
I'm just going to start here at the end because that's where we are. And we're
Okay.
just going to show how I cut half square triangles out of 2.5-inch strip.
Okay.
So we want them to finish 2-inch square,
Right.
right? So what's the way we normally cut our half square triangles?
Starting with a 2 7/8 square.
Right. So oftentimes I get comments, not often, occasionally I get comments on my patterns, well, you can't make a 2.5-inch half square triangle to go down to a finished 2-inch half square triangle if you don't start with a 2 7/8. And I say, oh yes, you can. You can, you just need the right tools.
Right.
So in my patterns, I give a paper template on the inside cover for this technique. But you can also use my goddess tool if you happen to have one, and if not, something like this easy angle ruler. And what you need is something that cuts half square triangles that has this blunt top where the dog ear is already, the first dog ear has already been
Right.
removed. And when you use a tool like this, then you can absolutely get finished half square triangles that measure 2
Because you
inches.
cut off your dog ear. Now, you
Right.
guys, I want to tell you something. The beauty of this is that this tool, this easy angle tool, is a wonderful tool to do this. But it will only do triangles. Tiffany's goddess tool will do 3 different shapes, and we've got another video that explains this tool in all 3 shapes in detail. So I want to encourage you to go see that. And then I believe that you would more likely agree that you need to pick up this tool.
Right.
It's really wonderful, all the
Thanks.
different shapes it does.
All right, so either tool will work.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and use this one because it's got my name on it.
Okay.
Okay. And I do like it because it has more room to put your hand.
Right.
You know, it gives you a little more stability.
Of course.
So I cut off that salvage and I'm going to line up the tool. Because it's a 2.5-inch strip, I'm going to put the blunt edge up here, the edge of the tool here, and automatically it's going to line up on this dotted line that says 2.5-inch. And we are going to cut, move that away, rotate this tool around, set it down.
Oh, so there's no waste.
No ma'am. Cut again and travel on down for as many strip pieces as you need
Okay.
for whichever pattern you're doing. I don't have just Tessala, but I have a couple others that use the same technique. So you'll just want to check with your pattern. So after this, because I'm right-handed, I like to gently and easily flip my pieces so that dog ear that's already been removed is at my bottom right. And this doesn't matter whether you're using the goddess tool or the easy angle tool. Either way, you still have to get that second dog ear off of there. And you don't have to, but you might as
Yeah,
well.
it might as well. It sure does piece together a lot easier.
It pieces
If you
together.
get those dog ears cut off first.
Yep, and we don't want them to
You're going to
snake
be
out.
more accurate
Absolutely.
in your piecing.
So now, let's pretend these are 2 different colors, a white one and
Okay.
a color one. And we're going to put them right sides together and we're ready to go to our machine.
Not neat.
Right? And if you want to check to make sure, you just use a ruler that has that 1/4-inch seam allowance on it. You check it and you should see that if you're using an accurate 1/4-inch, you should go from point to point
Yep.
and you'll have your finished unit, which finishes, well at this point it's 2.5-inch, but in the pattern, in the finished quilt, you have a finished 2-inch half square triangle.
Half square triangle. All right. Very, very cool. Now, Tiffany, we'll have a link on the video for you to be able to purchase the tool, along with some patterns. Tiffany has got lots of patterns using ombres. She's just really a whiz at this and will give you a lot of ideas on things that you can do and different ways that you can use these beautiful ombre strips that we buy in the quilt shop because they're so gorgeous. We've got to have them, right? So we just need patterns, and Tiffany is a great resource for that. Again, her website is needleandhaystack.biz. So you can go over and visit her there if you'd like.
Absolutely.
And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section below. We want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we bring lots of videos like this to you and hopefully help you along your quilting journey. So, for today, that's it. This is Tiffany Hayes, and I'm Deb Luttrell from Stitch in Heaven. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.